National Electoral Jury of Peru recognizes the triumph of Pedro Castillo in the general elections last June 6 and proclaimed him president-elect of Peru after more than a month of waiting. In Germany, the clear-up has begun after extensive flooding in the country and beyond as the human and economic costs are staggering. Syrian Air Defences shot down Israel missile over the northern province of Aleppo. Hello, welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Denise Herrera and this is from the south. The National Electoral Jury of Peru recognizes the triumph of Pedro Castillo in the general elections last June 6 and proclaimed him president-elect of Peru after more than a month of waiting.
Because National Election Jury, in compliance with the Constitution and the law, after consolidating the result of the decentralized counting of the voting of the presidential election issue in the single nation electoral district, which includes the votes cast within the territory of the country and abroad contained in the minutes, sent by 60 special electoral juries, proclaims the formula of candidates presented by the political organization, National Political Party Free Peru, is the winner of the election of President and Vice President of the Republic in general elections 2020 and consequently as National Jury of Election, in fulfillment of work carried out by the National Jury of Election of Peru. I proclaim President of the Republic to Don José Pedro Castillo Terrones and First Vice President of the Republic to Doña Ercilia Boluarte Segarra.
In his first speech, the president-elect of Peru, Pedro Castillo, called for the unity of the people, regardless the differences.
At this moment, I call upon the highest unity of the Peruvian people. I call upon the unity to force that doors of the next bicentennial that we have left celebrating this bicentennial with all its differences, with all its problems, and with all that we have lived. Dear compatriots, I bring here the open heart of each and every one of you in here. There is no...
Castillo said that during his term of office, all races and ethnicities of Peru will be welcome, in addition to fully combating corruption against those who steal money from the people.
To all races, to all ethnicities, to all human beings, here will be the government where no one is left behind. The open call. The spaces are open. Bring your experience, but with loyalty, with dignity, with transparency. We will not allow us to steal a penny from the Peruvian people and ratify our commitment to make a fight against corruption.
Earlier, the former presidential candidate of the Fuerza Popular Party, Keiko Fujimori, expressed on the press conference that she recognized the final results of the presidential elections.
I announced that by fulfilling my commitments with Mario Vargas Llosa, with the international community, I will recognize the results because it's what the law says and the Constitution I have sworn to defend.
On Monday, the government of Haiti extended the mandates of 4 ministers of state, including Foreign Minister Claude Joseph, as well as those responsible for the health, justice and finance. Prime Minister Ariel Henry, nominated by the assassinated former President Jovenel Moïse on July 7, will finally hold the country's mandate as of today, Tuesday, while Arnold Joseph was reinstated of the Ministry of Defense, a position he held during the period 2019 period. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health will continue to be presided over by Marine Greta Roy Clement, who had remained in the same position for 7 different presidential terms. On the other hand, the Ministry of Economy and Finance will continue to be headed by Patrick Michael Biosberg, while Rockefeller Vicente will remain at the head of the Ministry of Justice. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel urged to prioritize attention to social programs in the country. The president made this statement during a meeting of the governing group for the control of COVID-19. Díaz-Canel pointed out that the state institution must be prepared to respond to the demands of the popular sectors. He also insisted on the need to constantly strengthen the economic and to design multiple strategies to guarantee the population's access to basic rights such as education, science, culture, and social security.
Hay que potenciar la economía constantemente.
The economy must be strengthened, focusing constantly on prosperity,
Desarrollar con mayor eficiencia y amplitud los programas
developing social
sociales,
programs more efficiently
la
and broadly,
educación, la ciencia,
education,
la cultura,
science,
el deporte,
culture,
la seguridad, la
sports,
protección social,
security, and social
terminar de
services.
concretar vías de cómo vamos a
And we
proteger
must
a los
define
más
ways of how we are going to protect
y
the most
fomentando
vulnerable
una
and
cultura que
promote a
dé una verdadera
culture
calidad en
that
la
provides a
atención
true quality of
y
care
en todos los
and of all the
servicios
services provided
que
to
se
the
dan a la
population.
población.
President Díaz-Canel then stated that all the institutions must be prepared to meet the needs of the people through a comprehensive actions plan.
Pero ninguna estructura institucional, ninguna
No institutional structure, no
estatal
state
puede estar
structure
ajena
can be
a los
oblivious
problemas
to
que
the
hay
problems that exist in the neighborhood.
el barrio. Y la coordinación de esfuerzos entre todos,
And
más las
coordinating
organizaciones de
efforts
masa,
among
más
all
los
of us,
elementos de gobierno,
together with the massed organizations
municipal,
and the
nos
elements of
deben
the
llevar
government at the municipal
a
level,
poder lograr
should lead us to
planes de
achieve
acción
comprehensive action plans
integrales
in the neighborhoods.
en los barrios.
In Cuba, 3 municipalities in the western province of Matanzas are very close to completing vaccination against COVID-19 with a domestically produced drug, Abdala. The deputy director of the Provincial Center of Hygiene and Epidemiology in Matanzas, Amancio Martinez, explaining that the vaccination program is nearing completion in the municipalities of Cárdenas and Colón, where more than 235,000 citizens will be immunized with the domestically produced vaccine. A few weeks ago, the municipality of Los Arabos also started the program, so they expect to continue opening new vaccination centers in other municipalities. The Bolivian government revealed the armament sent by Argentina in support of the 2019 Cup. The Minister of Government, Eduardo del Castillo, disclosed the armament sent from Argentina in November 2019 by the administration of then the President Mauricio Macri arsenal, which was used to repress the Bolivian people. Likewise, the minister pointed out that a large part of it was distributed by the Bolivian police, another part to the air forces, and the remaining arsenal is under investigation to know whether it was used.
Next, I want to show you on screen the material that was found in the warehouse of the Bolivian police that had for represent the Bolivian people. Here on screen, we will be able to see one of the boxes that has the stamp of the Argentine Gendarmerie, that we have the rubber shells, that we have the ammunition and the corresponding gases, this ammunition. She was irregularly admitted to our country without complying with the pre-established rules for her internment.
Well, take a short break now, don't go away. Welcome back. In Germany, the clear-up has barely begun after extensive flooding in the country are beyond as the human and economic costs are staggering. The death toll in the floods in Germany has risen in the last few hours to at least 156 people, and the search continues for more hundreds more missing. At ground zero of the floods, where infrastructure is severely damaged, roads and bridges are destroyed, and there are still areas without electricity and water. As part of the recovery efforts, the police in Koblenz are making an initial assessment for the floods that hit western Germany, including the town of Aguerli.
An overview of the policing figures. A total of 117 people have died so far. 754 people have been injured by the flood so far. Many roads and bridges have been destroyed and are no longer usable. Drinking water, electricity, and telecommunications infrastructures have been largely destroyed. It will take a long time to restore these infrastructures.
Authorities of the French government announced Monday that the European country is now facing the fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is stronger and has a faster impact due to the predominance of the Delta strain of the virus. Government spokesperson Gabriel Attal said that the country has registered a sudden accelerated increase of the rate of incidence of the virus or cases per week per one inhabitants of almost 125% in just 7 days, something that has not occurred since the beginning of the pandemic. Attal recalled the government was taking all measures to ensure that this new wave will not become more devastating, and one of the defined always to limit the active circulation of the virus and prevent it from mutating further into a new strain is vaccination. The World Health Organization confirmed the presence of the cases of the new Lambda variant of COVID-19 in more than 30 countries. The first cases of this variant were detected in Peru in December 2020. This variant represents 81% of the contagions in Peru. This new variant has spread to the several countries in America. The WHO authorities have included the Lambda variant in the list of the variants of interest such as Delta, Gamma, Alpha, and Beta. The UK government warned on Monday that there will be an increase of COVID-19 deaths over the coming weeks. It came in as England celebrated Freedom Day, in which nearly all coronavirus restrictions were lifted.
In terms of the question about super spreading events, and I'll have a go and then Jonathan may want to add to this. When we look at the number of people in hospital with COVID, it's a somewhat different picture. So the first peak, second peak, you can see clearly, and then on the right-hand side, you can see that the number of people in hospital is increasing, so it will increase because of the infections, but not as far as it did before, and that is because of the protection of the vaccines. So we do expect this number to increase. We do expect there to be over 1,000 people per day being hospitalised with COVID because of the increased infections, but the rate should be lower than they have been previously because of the protective effects of vaccination and the real importance of making sure that everybody gets vaccinated.
England lifted most pandemic restrictions Monday despite surging infections and dire warning from experts, as the Delta variant sweeps part of Europe and Asia, where new cases are threatening to scupper the upcoming Tokyo Olympics.
If we don't open up now, then we face a risk of even tougher conditions in the colder months, when the virus has a natural advantage. We lose that firebreak of the school holidays, and there comes a point after so many have been vaccinated when further restrictions no longer prevent hospitalizations and deaths, but simply delay the inevitable. And so we have to ask ourselves the question, if not now, when?
Likewise, anti-lockdown protesters in Westminster, London, raised their voices against the government's ongoing COVID-19 restrictions on Monday, also known as Freedom Day. Protesters held signs and chanted freedom as they gathered in Parliament Square on today after almost all remaining coronavirus restrictions were lifted in England. Protesters deem its vaccination program to be an anti-democratic medical and technological tyranny. More stories coming up. Stay with us. The Palestinian Hamas movement called on the Islamic community to encourage resistance in response to recent Israeli attacks on Syria and Lebanon. The Palestinian resistance movement stated that the attacks perpetrated by the Tel Aviv against Syria and Lebanon represent an intimidatory actions against the entire region. The hostilities are taking place in the context of the Islamic holiday of Eid al-Adha, which marks the last day of the rituals of the annual Muslim pilgrimage. To Mecca, the Islamic organization spokesman pointed out that the broad resistance in the Islamic world using all its power and capabilities is the only way to stop Tel Aviv's aggressions. Iranian's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei also made a similar call on Monday to neutralize the aggression of the United States and its allies. In Iraq, around 30 people lost their lives following the explosion of handcraft constructions device inside a city. The Iraq government reported that it was a terrorist attack on the eve of the Muslim Feast of Sacrifice. The government noted that the death toll ranged from 28 to 30 deaths, including several minors. The security forces deployed at the site of the attack and indicated that at least 15 injured victims were taken to a hospital. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has called for global condemnation of the middle of the United States and its allies in the regions. Addressing followers during the annual Islamic pilgrimage of Hajj, the Iranian spiritual leader and politician stressed the region has suffered Western interference for over a century. He noted that it has led to disputes of separation among Muslims, preventing them from enjoying the full spirituality of the holy pilgrimage. In Afghanistan, the head of the highest council for the national reconciliation, Abdullah, says the Afghan people expected more from the latest talks in Doha between the Afghan government and the Taliban, and added that the door for negotiations is open.
Well, of both sides. And we also came here to tell them that we have come with seriousness, but at the same time, we are flexible, and it requires flexibility from both sides. So in the past 2 days, we also agreed that there should be no pause in the negotiations. While the collaboration and support from the international community will continue in many different ways, there wouldn't be the presence of international troops. Certainly it had an impact.
Foreign ministers of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, and Nicaragua, Denis Moncada, held meetings in Moscow. These talks were described by the Nicaraguan Foreign Minister Denis Moncada as productive and positive. These negotiations promote bilateral cooperation between the two countries in areas such as economics, security, information, food, and transportation. It was also reported that both authorities signed a collaboration agreement to guarantee international information security. More than 30 people have died in the Indian city of Mumbai after an intense burst of rainfall caused by landslide and wall collapse as changing monsoon patterns due to climate change lead to more extreme rains across India. According to India's National Disaster Response Force, rescue efforts continue through the night, with workers digging through mud and debris to find survivors. The rain also inundated a water purification plant, leaving part of the city without drinking water. Mumbai residents were advised to boil water from the tap before consuming it. We have come to the end of this new brief. You can find this and many other stories in our website at telesur.net. And join us on social media. For TeleSUR English, I am Denise Herrera. Thank you for watching.